The issues discussed on the Roll Call Room podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. Any characters discussed on this show may be fictional for comedic value unless you're a shitbag Steve. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised.
When I look at people, I always ask the question, I say, man, tell me what Nike stands for. They said, oh, Inc., that's easy, just do it. I said, tell me what Adidas stands for. Oh, Inc., that's easy, man, impossible is nothing. I said, now tell me what you stand for. When people look at you, do they think excuses? When people look at you, do they think victory? When people look at you, do they think that's a person that's gonna give me everything they got, not on some days, but on every day, and it's not gonna be predicated upon if I feel like it, because I think we all know if we only worked on the days when we felt like it, none of us would get much accomplished. I'm talking about the real level of commitment. Not the commitment that falls in line if everything goes right. I'm speaking of the commitment that says, I am going to stay true to what I said I would do long after the mood that I've set it in his life.
See, most people, ladies and gentlemen, are stoppable. Most people, all you have to do is tell them no. All you have to do is make it inconvenient for them. All you have to do is make it difficult for them, and they'll stop. See, when you go to get your goal, don't think that all you have to do is think positive and everything's going to work out okie dokie for you. When you go to get your goal, you are sending a telegram to Murphy's Law to visit you personally.
You thought you was just gonna have a dream and a goal, and you were just gonna wake up and just walk into the sunset. You're like, dream, boom. It don't work like that. You have a dream, and then life punks you. Life punks you and say, do you really want this? You're gonna lose friends. Do you really want this? Do you really want this? Cousins gonna abandon you. People that you used to be like this with gonna think you bougie and don't wanna deal with you. It's a part of it, but I paid too much. If I was gonna quit, I would've quit in the abandoned building when I wanted to commit suicide and take my life. I should've quit when I heard my voice say, your mama don't want you, your daddy don't want you, take your life. I got through that, so why I'm gonna quit over F on a grave? Come on. And so I'm telling y'all, you have come too far to quit now. You have invested too much to quit now. You have lost too much to quit now. Don't cry about it. Don't whine about it. Get a reward for your pain.
And so by being committed to everything that I started, I finished it. It built a certain type of spirit. It built a certain type of mentality. It built a certain type of individual. And so now I couldn't quit even if I wanted to. I couldn't stop even if I wanted to. I had too much sweat equity in my life and everything that I was doing.
You're too close to quit now. You gotta take another lap. You gotta take another lap, because you never know. This might be the one. You can't stop because you're tired. You can't stop because you got your feelings hurt. You gotta take another lap. Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. You're gonna make it. You're gonna do it. You got an unstoppable fire. Come on, take another lap. Don't you stop. Don't stop walking.
You're listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession. Talking about shit in law enforcement that keeps poor leaders up at night. When others run scared and hide behind fake policies, the Roll Call Room podcast tells it like it is. No bullshit. No matter how hard these Steves try, we keep killing it. And now, here are your hosts, Nick and Mark.
Yeah, but ultimately she was able to escape. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Roll Call Room. My name is Barbie. With me is Ken. Together, we are part of the hit movie, The Roll Call Room.
And there you go.
What's up, Mark? How are you doing, buddy?
I am fired up and ready to go today.
Me too, man. I'm so happy. One, I'm just I'm grateful that you're alive and well, and we had quite a bit of a scare yesterday.
We did.
We actually prepped, which will be interesting. 40 seconds into this episode, it'll be interesting that I'm saying we prepped, and then by the end,
not that way.
Yeah, that's separate. We actually got on the phone yesterday to talk about what we were going to do for this episode, in which we've been consciously trying to be better preparers. And this will be kind of the test, because we usually don't do that. We just usually
get on a wing it.
We free ball it.
Yeah.
You're at your job. You're at the training facility, where you train young minds and mentor young minds or older minds sometimes. Yeah. And we're in this deep conversation. So deep, I don't remember what it was about. But we're talking, and then I know what it was. We were talking about something about your old agency, about them sticking inside of you. And
yeah.
At the same moment, I hear shots ring out. It was
not just one.
No, it was a succession.
It was almost like it was on time.
Yeah. If you've ever watched The Departed, it's like when somebody gets taken out, and then there's just silence on the phone, and I'm like, Mark,
are you okay?
And you're like, hey, buddy, sorry, I just walked past the range.
Yeah, we were at what we do advanced training. So the listeners know, I'm a driving instructor, and the facility, we also have an outdoor range, and they were doing a handgun class early in the morning. So they had everybody on the line, and as I'm speaking with Nick, he's hearing the, hey, good morning, and I'm in there making coffee, getting ready for the class to start. So I always get there a half hour or so early, and so I stepped outside because the students are starting to gather in the classroom. Of course, it's brick, and it echoes really bad. So I went outside to finish our conversation so we get wrapped up for today. So we were talking about our situations, and we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so I'm outside and I'm talking. All of a sudden, Nick's it's like, and it was like a sustained fire. It was like empty the magazine. Must have been the drill. And I'm screaming, shots fired.
Yeah.
And you're genuine. You got such panic in your voice. You're like, bro, you're okay.
Well, and then what's funny is I've got my Apple Watch on, and my Siri chimes in. She's like, "Is everything okay?" And because my beats per minute shot up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, "Wow, I didn't know that I cared that much about Mark." And then I realized. Then I also, at the same time, realized that I would have to explain to the fans that I lost another co-host.
We're dropping like mics. Boom.
Yeah, I'm like a serial co-host killer. It's getting troublesome.
And we always say,
yeah. I feel like, with the way that the FBI has been acting lately, there's going to be a visit at my door. I'm 2 seconds away from being pulled into Georgia for a booking photo.
And if you haven't seen the website lately, you need to look at that, because that's hilarious. Yeah,
oh,
so
man.
it was kind of like a hit was done on me.
It was so hilarious,
funny, but it was concerning.
Yeah, it was so hilarious that it was. It's just so funny. It's I think people don't understand. We joke about this all the time. It's like, so you want to do a podcast?
Yes.
If it's not equipment issues, or it's timing, if it's not trying to line up people to have on the show, it's losing co-host. That's,
well, we always talk about, when we have our conversation, we really need to be recording every time we talk, because the spun gold that comes out, and that's one I really, really wish we would have been recording on.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I got off the phone with you, and I was still chuckling to myself. I was just chuckling. But I'll tell you this. On a different note, as we record this episode, we started RCR with mental health in mind, and kind of giving people an outlet, and really discussing the issues about poor law enforcement leadership, correlation to law enforcement suicide, and you and I saw it at the same time. That's why we got on the phone with each other yesterday. Was the Dallas Police Department lost a second officer, I think in a matter of a week or two, to suicide. The second one, no words. Just I just have no words. And while I was doing research for that, we'll talk about Dallas first. But as I'm doing research for that for the show, I see San Antonio Police Department had its fifth officer shot this year, fifth officer shot, and all of the suspects were out on bail. And
no shit.
Yeah, and
these fuckers shouldn't have been on the street, so now they're out shooting cops.
Right, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing DAs or Commonwealth attorneys that are just so oblivious to what reality is with bail reform. I think the pendulum has swung way too far. I don't understand it, and those that are listening could maybe help me and Mark understand, like, what are you seeing out there? I still talk to folks that are on the job, and a lot of them, in the job that I have right now, a lot of my cases that I have, I refer to law enforcement, and a lot, Mark, I tell you, a lot of cases, they're like, no, we're not going to come and arrest that person. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is a felony case. And they're like, no, the prosecutor refuses to prosecute those crimes.
Well, I saw a post this morning from Texas Patrolmen's Association. I think that's it. If I got it wrong, I apologize to our friends out in Texas. And they had called out actually 3 DAs. And they're like, look, these 3 guys, and it's right around Dallas, to where they're all Soros-funded prosecutors. And the purpose of this man is to come into our country and create chaos. And he's been very, very successful at it. I have to implore in there again. I hate to get on the stump, but guys, we got to start fighting out there. And you need to start getting, you can be politically active and be within policy. Trust me, because I did it for many, many years. For those of you who don't know, I was a sitting councilman for 2.5 terms in a small village, but it wasn't nothing great. It wasn't like I was a councilman in Los Angeles, but still, once you get involved in politics, it does mean a lot. I mean, I served 2 communities. I worked for my city, and I was also on council in the village where I lived. So, I was busy constantly. So where I'm going with this is be involved. You can go be a poll sitter, meaning you can go sit while the poll's not being the other way, because that's where my mind immediately went. But, and be involved and keep these people out. Write letters. I have, we got Sherrod Brown, which is our senator here in Ohio, and he's like, I didn't know anything about the border. None of my constituents have said anything. So what did I do? Instantly send him an email saying, hey, yeah, you're wrong there, bro. You're out of touch. But, email them, get involved, and tell these people that are in charge that if you're having a liberal, it shouldn't be liberal conservative. If you have someone that's not upholding the values of your community, get them out of there, because that's the purpose of our society. And who do we answer for? And you mentioned this yesterday in our conversation. I think we lost who do we work for? We're public safety, but who are we working for? You know, is it the person on the street? Is it the community leader? Is it the mayor? You know, who are the cops working for? And I think that our police administration, their mission has drifted so far off, and that they've lost their servant mentality. You're not I think they've gotten themselves so immersed in policy and trying to get acronyms after their name, they forgot that, hey, number one, I got a department of people I need to take care of. That's the number one thing they've lost. Number two, who's the community we're working for? Because I can tell you in my small town, the mayor said to me one time, yeah, go get them motherfuckers. You know, I'm privately, he's not going to say that publicly. And he's a great guy. And I said, bro, you better go talk to your fucking chief, because he wants us to be seen and not heard, man. He's like, what? I said, oh yeah, for those of us. And I'm an old bull. I was always the first guy at any bar fight. The sergeant was rolling in the door first, but if I could be anyway. But you know, I told him, I said, those are your values. You want us to go clean up the streets, right? Well, your chief is like, oh no, we don't want to do that. We want to hug a thug. And I really like what you said on the 10 Code Mindset. And if you haven't listened to that, go listen to it, because our good friend Scott Medlin did an excellent interview, which I'm kind of jealous you left me out, fucker. Anyway, got my dig in. But I was talked about, so it's okay. But you had...
we'll do a threesome.
Wait a minute. Don't we have that going on already?
Yeah.
Don't look
out
at me.
Today.
Fucker, you hijacked me. You were talking about... I just lost my stream there, dude. That totally threw me off with threesome. Go ahead.
And you're I was going to say, you know, shout out to Scott Medlin, and you know, Scott and I didn't prep at all for that interview. We just kind of freeballed it, and I listened to it like 2 or 3 times, and it was interesting because, and not only because it's my own point, but it is interesting, which is that law enforcement leadership has an identity crisis. Mm-hmm. They seem to think that their customer is the public, and that's their only customer. But they have lost the focus of who their internal customer is. And their internal customer is not buying. They're not buying anything. Mm-mm. And once that happens, your recruitment is low. Your morale is low. Your suicide rate is low. Your mental health crisis is high. I'm sorry, your suicide is high. Your mental health crisis is high. And again, I don't have the insights into what happened in Dallas. I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you this: it's definitely not good. It reminds me of the NYPD's suicide epidemic and their issue going on in there. And you have many organizations. I have an article pulled up right now on DallasNews.com, and I'm reading it, and the same organization you and I have talked about the last 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. Sure as shit, they're in there giving a quote, and
of course.
It enrages me because poker runs don't fix the suicide problem as much as cookouts fix crime. You know, you turning around.
Such a great line. I love it.
It should be a T-shirt. And
it should be.
Here they are. They're saying, there's a quote on here. New York leads the nation with at least 93 law enforcement suicides since 2016, followed by Texas and California, according to Blue No Help, a nonprofit that analyzes law enforcement suicide data. Well, you know what? I'm super proud of you that you can compile data and you can give all these sound bites. Mm-hmm. What are you doing about it? What are you doing? Like, you're not a new organization anymore. It's time to shit or get off the pot. If your information isn't in every locker room, if you're not, so to me, by you giving this quote, this is just me, high level overview. I would, as an organization, I would be living in New York, Texas, and California right now. I wouldn't be doing poker runs in Virginia. I wouldn't be doing poker runs in Florida. I wouldn't be doing poker runs in Colorado. I would be living and breathing in New York, California, and Texas. And that's not the case. And what's happened with law enforcement suicides is it's become an epidemic where now the government's throwing tons of money in grants, tons of money at different organizations. And this is where the festering starts. This is where the swamp starts. They start taking in money, and they don't do the right thing with the money. And
no, they pocket it.
It's just very frustrating. It's extremely they pocket it. Or you're 100% right. Go ahead.
Or it's under miscellaneous. What does that mean? What did you do with it? So I seen those tax returns. You shared those with me, and I was appalled. Yeah. And my wife's an accountant, and she went, "Whoa, whoa!" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, that's a lot of money. So what are we doing about it? Are we sending out mass emails? I mean, I can tell you, when I was sitting there in my honor guard uniform with my 40 in my mouth, I didn't know these fucking places existed.
Same.
I came from a culture to where if you ask for help, you're weak." So now I'm battling with that. And then I'm battling with, oh my God, if I tell these fuckers I'm going to therapy, then I'm really going to get into it. So here's the stigma. Okay. Why aren't we every police agency most of them have their emails online. Why aren't they sending, hey, if you're thinking this way, here we are. It's getting the resources there. And then you have to bridge that gap of, and like what you said, unless it's a cop that's there, get the fuck out of here, dude. What do you want?
Nobody's going to listen to it.
Yeah. Can you believe that guy let them in our roll call? Really? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. And we've been there as sergeants. We've been there. We've been sitting at the main table, and you have to sit and listen to academia, or you have to listen to these doctors, PhD psychiatrists dictate to officers how they should have better wellness, and off duty they should be doing better things, and all this other stuff. But they come with no legitimacy. They come with no legitimacy. And early on RCR, we were toting that organization hardcore. The first year, I think the first year or two, we were toting it hardcore. And I think it was naive of Mike and I, because at the time we were getting so much attention from different people that we weren't really looking at what they were doing or what they weren't doing. And then what we started to realize was that behind closed doors, they were endorsing our podcast, but they wouldn't do it publicly. They wouldn't do it publicly because they didn't want to bite the hand that fed them. They didn't want to be associated with a podcast that talks about poor law enforcement leadership. And then it affects them being able to go into organizations and go talk to people. Right. And it's just like the IACP. It's just like every national or international chief association, which is they turn a blind eye to it. The IACP every other day is turning around saying, oh, we got this training for our chiefs. We got this training. They got their convention coming up in October. The taxpayers are funding your chiefs to go there. Right. And all that convention is a massive circle jerk. That's all it is. They ain't learning shit. They ain't learning shit. If those chiefs show up to 2 seminars, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. And then the seminars that they do show up for is bullshit.
Right. What city is it in?
Oh, that's the other thing is, I think it's always in a city,
in a vacation destination, right?
It's a vacation destination. Like, it's in October, so it's not like it's in Minnesota.
It's in Orlando. It's in Las Vegas,
San Francisco, Vegas, Miami, all these different places, and it's like it's like it put a little bit of effort into hiding the fact that this is more of a couple of days away for these chiefs. And you and I, we've talked about it. A couple of other podcasters, we've talked about it, which is they have tried to put in for chief of police positions before. And if you're not tied to the IACP, if you're not a member of the IACP and you don't mingle in their circle, you ain't even getting fucking, your resume's not even getting fucking touched. It's not even getting touched.
Well, and it kind of circles back to, what acronyms do I have after my name and what qualifications do I have? You can have all the qualifications you want, honestly, but what line of governance or what line of or list of standards is out there to grade these folks with? The poor ones. Now, the great ones, I think these should be the ones that are setting the standards. But the great ones now, and there's some younger ones that's coming up in the ranks, but they're really having a hard time, like Randy Savage says, the cream rises to the top. It's getting harder now because you made a statement a while ago that we were in peacetime. And now that we're in more of a active time to where the public is giving us resistance, these guys that came up through the ranks in peacetime, they don't know how to battle this. And I made the comment on our last episode that people need to go download and watch the 1973 version of Walking Tall, the story of Sheriff Buford Pusser and how he took on the corruption there in McNairy County, Tennessee. Sometimes that's what you got to do. What's that old saying? Is good times make soft men, and hard times make strong men. And now we're getting into that time. It's time to draw the thin blue line. It's time because these faction of people that's emptied our prisons out. Yeah, that's a problem. And you had said earlier in this show that all the shootings we've had were people that were out on bail. What are these people doing now? And the next thing is that they're talking about recruitment. So how the hell are we going to be recruiting people when I think we've lost that sense of service. I love your quote. I was born to be a cop in this era.
Yeah.
And you were
not in this. Yeah.
Not in this era. One, but when we started, I started in 1991, and my desire to become a police officer, I think, started really strong around 1988. And it's just kind of like, how do you do it? Well, back then, you think it's a cult now. Back then, it was really a fucking cult. It was tough to get in.
Yeah.
You got to know a guy that knows a guy, unless you got hired at a big city. And that's before affirmative action was really a thing. Well, wait a minute. I guess it was because, if you had the wrong genitalia or skin tone, then here's this big tall stack. All right. So you need to be over here in a little stack. Well, that ain't right. Then they finally got down to the point to where, we're going to start going through the tall stack because we need bodies more than we need numbers. Does that make sense to everybody? And then now it's just like, hey, do you have a pulse? Want to be a cop?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
do you have a pulse and can you pass a background?
Yeah, that's basically it. And I see these folks coming through the police academy. I'm like, why do you want to be a cop? I want to help people. Maybe you should get into social services.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't have one.
That.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Walmart manager makes more than most cops, and you can help people all day.
You want to make some money? Go work at Buc-ee's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody that's got a Buc-ee's. Have you been to Buc-ee's? This isn't a paid advertisement for them. They put their management salary on top of the pumps.
Jeez.
One's coming here to Dayton, Ohio, and in Huber Heights. They're building a Buc-ee's here on I-70.
Jeez.
And one of my instructors. Yes, it's phenomenal. People either love them or hate them. I hate them for a long time, but then I started stopping there, and our trips back and forth to Florida. Yeah, they did. It's like the superstore gas stations. Again, they're not paying us, but huge plug. And I got me a little Buc-ee's travel blanket that my wife loves. But
jeez,
it's stupid. This place is a phenomenon. They build these out in the middle of nowhere, and you got signs up the interstate for miles. But anyway, my colleague that's one of my guest instructors comes in, and he has a picture of their salaries on his phone. He's like, look at this shit. What a store manager makes. He's like, fuck that. I'm going to quit my job and go work at Buc-ee's. I said, when you go work in private industry, and we can all tell you this since we're now into it now, you got to work. Some of this, the fuck off factor in law enforcement is pretty high. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. You're fucking off more than you're working. And being in the private sector now, I tell you, my job satisfaction rate is a lot higher than when I was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a cop, your job satisfaction rate is kind of like Morse code. It's like tick 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 tick. But when you go to when you go into
that's so funny.
The private world, when you go into the private world, it's like, at least for me, where I'm at, like every day, I'm like, all right, I accomplished this, and this, and I've got a great team that I manage, and I'm proud of what I do. And I could see that the hard work that my team is doing is paying off. I can see it. There's no fudging it. It's not like law enforcement where, you could fudge the crime stats. There's none of that. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's going to show. The data shows.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other difference. So if you like fucking off, stay in law enforcement.
Put up with the bullshit.
Yeah. So going back to Dallas, I pulled up an article, and their Chief Garcia, who's the police chief in Dallas, something that I did not know is that they have a wellness unit that is made up of 7 officers who proactively work to boost and maintain the mental health of ones in the department. And I'm not criticizing those 7 that are doing what they're doing. But I would love to see what their SOP is. I would love to see what they're doing to proactively work on boosting and maintaining mental health. And if you're one of those 7 people, you should seriously reach out to us, because if you're not having folks come and speak at your roll calls on a monthly basis, that's probably where you should start.
Right.
And I feel for those 7, because when you lose 2 people to suicide, it kind of questions whether or not you're doing your job. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are criticizing. And I know within that department, being a large department, I know that there are pieces of shit that are turning around and going, well, what's that unit doing? Those 7 people should be put back on the street. They're obviously not doing their job. And that's not fair to them. That's not fair at all. And I'll go on to the chief said, and I quote, "When people ask, how are you doing? Everybody's normal answer is, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Even when you're not doing good. When you're not doing good, you say, I'm doing good. We need to get to the point where, how are you doing? I'm not doing well. All right. Well, let's talk and make it okay. To say I'm not doing too well, after that, it's that simple. It's that simple, but also that difficult. It's also that difficult because I understand the culture. Well, Chief Garcia, if you understand the culture, you're not changing it. That's my first critique to you, which is I'm proud of you that you've recognized that officers will lie about their wellness. I'm proud of you that you recognize that people in that profession, our profession, are going to say that they're okay when they're not okay. But I'll dissect your statement in that article, which is have you cultivated a culture within the Dallas Police Department to say that you're not okay? Have you broken down the stigma of, if I say I'm not okay, you're going to take my gun and badge and I'm going to be labeled a fucking kook? And that's going to affect my earning potential. That's going to affect me being in specialized units. I'm going to be ostracized. Have you done that? And I would venture to say that you have not. And it starts with you, which I'm proud of you. You're one of the few the chiefs of police that actually admit that. But this is just the cop in me, and I don't know you from fucking Hill and the Beans. I'd venture to say that this is a soundbite for you. I'd venture to say that you're one of those folks that are like, yeah, we know officers are saying that they're okay when they're not okay, but what can we do about it? Well, you can do a lot. There are quite a few folks that have been through it. There's quite a few folks that have tasted the metal of a gun in their mouth. How many of those people have you had in your department? There's tons and tons of books out there where officers or former officers have written books about trying to commit suicide or mental health crisis, are you buying 1,000 copies of them and handing them out to your officers? There's tons and tons of things that you should be doing. And again, all of that, if you're even doing everything 100% right, that's not going to stop Officer X from killing themselves.
Right.
It's a decision that is solely based between that person's ears. They're gonna make that decision one way or the other.
Right.
But the more stuff that you can give them in their corner to reach out and call Cop Line, to get a therapist, to do something, the better. But if you're heavily relying on some organization that makes graphs every time somebody clips themselves, you're going to be burying a lot of officers for suicide.
Right. So I want to dovetail off of that. And the next level of that is there's a saying that came up from my good friend from Caliber Press. He's a chief. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a great guy. And in training, he shared with me that the body won't go where the mind hasn't been before. Our great friend, Jake Clark from Save a Warrior, shared with us that if you commit suicide as a father, the likelihood of your children doing the same act multiplies like 50%. Mm-hmm. So combining those two things together. So what's your culture? Okay. What is your mindset? And we got these, how do cops do stupid shit? You know, we had a cop shoot into a car here the other day. God bless him, you know, and you got to make a split decision. But where did that mindset come from? Okay.
Yeah.
So stay with me here on this, because the path is, instead of thinking I need to kill myself because I'm in so much pain, as our good friend Jake Clark said, you're killing the wrong thing. What you need to kill is that super inflated ego you got. And I can tell you right now, I have a super inflated ego. And that's what I wanted to kill. I wanted to get out of the pain. The things I was doing that was hurting my family were the things that I wanted to kill. Okay. And having that mindset, so instead of putting a gun in your mouth, have the mindset of, let's get into some good therapeutic things that help you. And I can tell you, as you did too, what did you sacrifice for the job? Your family. Okay. So you should never be sacrificing family for a job. Would you do that right now with your current employer? Would you sacrifice family for your current employer? No. So where did that culture come from? The suck it up culture, the suck it up old hats. I can tell you the old hats and the agency culture that I had, don't tell that shit to your wife there, son, because she's not going to understand it. No, she may not, but you, my friend, that old hat that just told me that, you're the part of the problem. So because now I can't go home and do something with this energy that I've just absorbed, okay? I don't have a way of getting rid of that. And there's cops that's gone through their entire career, oh man, I don't have any mental health. Well, think about where they've been their whole career, in the rear with the gear. You know, I've been in the schools, or I've been in administration, and like my former chief, he was always in the back. When the fight was over, he was the guy showing up, handing out statements. After the fatal traffic crash, he was the guy out there with the fire department sweeping up the glass. He wasn't there in the blood and the guts. So don't fucking tell me your shit. And he wasn't the guy standing there with the 400-pound, drunk wrestler that wants to rip someone's head off and shit down their neck. He never had to make those decisions because he was never there. Yeah. So you don't have that trauma. Okay. So how do we change the culture? We change the culture because you said it first. These three agencies, right, have a rash of suicides because somehow, somewhere in that culture, that makes sense. Yeah. And I love what Jake Clark said. Don't fucking argue with me about getting therapy when your solution is to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Now argue with me about ways to eliminate that. The thing you need to kill is that thought process. Don't kill the body. The body is precious. The world needs you. And if you're listening to this, remember, we all love you, bro. you don't know the lives that you touch. I've had several friends commit suicide, and it's the first one that I can remember that fucked me up for 3 days.
Mm.
You know, it was like, God, you just feel so desperate. And now that I've been through that process myself, you know, you don't realize the lives you touch. You just really don't connect how many people that your presence in the world affects positively. And I know in my own personal story, every time I looked in the mirror, I hated that guy because I hated what that guy was doing to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I've been there.
When it's like what Dr. David says, you're just not in enough pain in order to start making life decisions. And let me tell you something. It sucks. The work sucks. There's no easy. Oh, you want to eat ice cream or you want to drink pickle juice with urine in it? I'd rather eat the ice cream. Well, you're going to have to drink the pickle juice with urine in it, because until you make those hard life decisions, till you quit seeing that side chick, until you quit drinking your face off, until you start making these hard decisions because you are compensating for something that your mind isn't wired to comprehend. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love what you said was that, you know, Scott Medlin said, you know, my former agent, I had to work 30 years before I could retire. Fuck that. We are put into a career to where you should be retiring out after 15. And I loved when you quoted that. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I was walking out of Kroger's when you said that edge in my ear. And I went, fuck yes, this career should be a short-term career. And doesn't mean that your life's over. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'll tell you that ideology, like what, and I've been toting that for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that for almost a year. And I think the guest spots that I've done, when I say that, the reaction is, it's almost like I'm saying we should stop carrying guns. There's such resistance to it where they're like, no,
okay.
we should not. 10 to 15 years and you retire? That's unheard of. Well, hear me out, numbskull.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many are staying past 15 years right now?
Right.
And then here's the other thing. What's the caliber of the folks that are staying after 15 years?
Right.
They're fucking donuts. They're fucking donuts. Like, if you don't start, like, this is the mind-blowing thing about law enforcement is that we have done the same thing for almost 100 years, if not more. We just perpetually repeat the same thing, and there's no innovation. And I would venture to say that if you turned around and you pivoted your recruitment to say, hey, we have 4 different types of retirement here at the department. We have a 10-year retirement. We have a 15-year retirement. We have a 20-year retirement. And for those that are really stupid, we have a 25-year retirement. You choose which one.
No, you have to have the lifelong package for the guy that wasn't managing his stress, years. And he's got like family number 3, okay, and he has to work till he's 80.
Well, and listen, I was super guilty of that when I was. It's so weird. Here's the weird part. I'm having like an epiphany right now.
Here we go.
When I was a cop, I had so many side hustles. I had a DJ company, a photo booth and DJ company. I had a t-shirt company. I had a woodworking company. I probably have another 5 that I'm not thinking of. Plus, on top of that, I was in overtime. Yeah, well, that also that was bringing in 24 cents a month. But on top of that, I was an overtime whore, so I was constantly gobbling up overtime or DUI detail or working at 7-Eleven for $20 an hour, cash. Stupid things, and I was barely making it with all of that side hustle. Then fast forward of where I am right now, after I lost everything, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. At the time, it was terrible. It was terrible. Right. There's nothing like seeing a tow truck come and pick up your favorite car because it's repossessed, and have that happen. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've had that happen twice right after I was kicked out of my department. because I was living outside of my means. My wife and my dream home that we built, gone. Gone. But you know what? If it wasn't for her, like at the time, I felt empty, you know, like I felt like I wasn't accomplishing, like I wasn't being a man, you know. And my wife said it perfectly, which is these are all materialistic things. These are all things that, when it boils down to it, they're just objects. We could live in a cardboard box; it doesn't matter.
Right.
And you know, fast forward to almost 3 years, I've got almost everything back that I lost, and it's in moderation. Like I don't live outside of my means. I don't, you know, I'm not turning around and going, oh, all right, well, this month I'm not going to be able to pay this. So, you know, I'll figure it out next month. There's none of that. I don't have that. And I want to go back, Scott, when I did my interview with him, he was like, if you can go back, what would be the piece of advice that you can give yourself? And I gave a pretty decent answer, which was give yourself 24 hours, you know, and go give in that 24 hours, go talk to somebody. And if you can convince them that suicide is the option, then it's time for you to check yourself into a facility. And I stand by that.
Yes, good advice.
But I will tell you this, and as you were talking, it sparked what my true answer would be, which is for if it's in your head right now where you're in the planning stage, and if you read my first book, you'll know what the planning stage is. The planning stage is, hey, I've made the decision. It's happening. The show is gonna happen. Okay. Now I'm planning it. I got if you're a good person, you're planning, you know, PIN codes to your bank account, where your will is, all the things that you want to give away, all these different things, what I call tying up the loose ends, right?
Yes.
If you're in that stage, I just have one word for you. Wait. Because what you're running away from, and like what Mark said, what you're trying to kill, wait. Because if I could have gone back, if I had a time machine, and the day that I tried to do it, if I could put my hand on that Nick's shoulder, I would have whispered and said, "Wait, that motherfucker is gonna get what he deserves. Just wait, just wait, because that department. Wait till you see what's gonna happen to them. Just wait." And it brings me joy, because now every article that comes out about my old agency, they're suing each other. There's a race war within my old department. There's a race. Listen to what I'm saying, folks. I'm going to say it one more time. There is a race war within my old department. White is suing black right now within my department. The Caucasian officers dislike the black officers, and the black officers hate the white officers. All because somebody didn't get a promotion, and they're trying to base it off of race. And it's not based off of race. It's based because you're a piece of shit and you shouldn't get promoted.
But that's what happens when you I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, you go.
Well, but that's what happens when you install that culture. I want to jump back here real quick when we were talking about family, and our good friends at the Chip Terry Fund. Joe Terry, shout out. We need to get you on here.
Yes.
The Chip Terry Fund reposted Jump Seat Leadership on. They made a post that we're making the wrong sacrifice, and this is a fireside, and we love our folks in the fireside service. So if you happen to find Jump Seat Leadership, and I'll send it to you here, Nick, so we can do a repost. I reposted it on the Shield Within. But basically what he talks about was how much sacrifice we did to our families in order for us to further our careers. And I'm that dude, man. I apologize to my family and my girls for being that self-centered jackass that put everything aside. And what I should have been doing is, instead of being present at work, I should have been focusing on being more present at home. One of my officers, and I always kind of thought, because he's like, dude, when I'm off work, I'm off work. He would shut off his phone, his work phone. He would leave his radio. He got dressed at work. He's like, no, when I'm at home, and I'm home. My neighbors know I'm a cop, but I'm not in cop mode. When I go out to dinner, I'm not in cop mode. And he never did that. And I always thought, well, then you're not into the job. That was my mindset, because I feel bad now because he had it right and I had it wrong. He had a really good work-life balance. He never worked overtime. He's like, I picked a job to where I don't need to work overtime, dude. And right back to what you said, Nick, live within your means. What's the first thing all these young cops do? Woo, I'm making X amount of dollars a year. I'm going to go buy that new F-150. Or right now it's Jeeps. Everyone's buying Jeeps.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you really need that? I did it. Hell, I wouldn't bought the new King Ranch.
Dude, I had a new car every year. I had a new car every year.
Yes,
every fucking year.
As long as the finance institution kept saying, yep, so did I. I got to have the newest.
Didn't matter the payments. Didn't matter the
payments. Give a shit. I'll make it work.
Dude, I mean, I got to the point where I would show up at dealerships and I acted more like a salesperson than a salesperson. Like I knew. and I laugh because as I'm recording this, I'm going to pick up a new car today.
So, get another Tesla?
No. The Tesla is gone. The Tesla is gone. But I am getting another electric car. And those of you that are listening to this that think that I'm like some sort of environmentalist, like left environmentalist,
right?
Fuck no. It is strictly about getting tired of paying for gas. The prices fluctuating, and I don't know what your gas prices are. And I guess we can do.
We're like $3.80 right now in Ohio.
Yeah, see, that's what we're going to do a poll as to where you live, what yours is. Mine right now is $3.79,
right?
And it's just like you, and it's outrageous. Like it's the mileage reimbursement that I get from my job barely covers the gas.
Right.
Yeah, so this is my way of like, doing that. It has nothing to do with the environment. I'm sorry for those of you that are about the environment. That has nothing to do with that.
Well, after I retired, I'm sorry.
No. I only had one question for you, because hearing all of that, which is now that you're out of it, what is your north now? Like, what is your true north? Like your work ethic, meaning what is that now look like?
I work like a dog. Okay. My wife said, someone said, "Hey man, how you like retirement?" And she looked at the person. She's like, he didn't retire. He's working more now than he ever fucking worked. And like, what do you mean? I thought you were retired. I said, being retired doesn't mean that you stop. I said, the day I'm going to stop working is probably a day or two before they put me in a box. I have a very strong work ethic. And another thing, I like money. But I really pulled the belt in tight. When I retired, I sold all the big cars, and I owned a Ford Explorer Sport 2014, bought it brand new. It was the best car I ever owned. And my friends used to make fun of me, and they nicknamed it Precious because I would only park it out like a cocoon because I didn't like door dings. So I was all prepped up to buy a new Explorer SL. Of course, being blessed to be on the advisory board, I got a nice discount. Just through channels. I mean, everyone gets the discount that's affiliated with the company. But I drive a 2011 Honda Civic now.
Nice.
And all my colleagues, I show up over at the academy and they got these brand new F-150s and Chevy trucks, and they're lifted and all that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool as fuck. But I drive a 2011 Honda Civic. It's just under 200,000 miles. That's what I drive back and forth to the academy. My truck is a 1-ton Ford, but it's a 2000, and it's paid for. It's a diesel. It'll pull the fucking house down. It's got a 7.3 in it. My newest car I bought used. I come out of the used car business, and it's a Nissan Rogue. It's the first time I've ever bought a Nissan. That darn thing gets about 30 miles a gallon, but it's not my Explorer Sport. Trust me, I like to drive. But, my whole thought process changed here. I started picking up the Dave Ramsey books, and we did the Dave Ramsey program, and we paid everything off. I mean, right before, no, I shouldn't say right before. When I moved down here to the city from Covington, Ohio, when I moved to Tip, we fully embraced it because, my wife makes a lot of money. She's a sugar mama. And I was just like a kid in a candy store, it was like, well, you said lucky. We worked for that. She
totally.
We sacrificed and no, you have a good term. I'm not condemning you, Nick. I'm just to let the people know. I was in the police academy when she was in college. We had 3 young kids at home. Talk about never see one another, and that's how I knew that our marriage was strong. And despite the fact that I was there with a flamethrower trying to burn it down throughout my PTSD journey, and this dovetail. This is a good segue right back to where I support having the option to retire earlier. And the retirement doesn't mean that I'm just done being a cop. Doesn't mean I'm incompetent. Doesn't mean that I'm unable to work. Doesn't mean I'm unable to provide. And so, kind of the dual thing is that I just don't want to be a cop. Somebody's like, "Hey, man, you care commission?" With all due respect, fuck no. I did it for 30 years. It's time to turn the page, and I really feel bad for these guys. It's like, what am I now? And to get right back to the suicides, what did we talk about yesterday? There was no gauge for retirees that are committing suicide after they leave the job. And it's so hard. We talked about that last night on the way home because, you want to do a podcast? Let's talk about show prep. We talked about that on the way home. There's no way to gauge that because no one's tracking it. And it's hard enough tracking active duty suicides. Okay. So we have line of duty deaths, odmp.org. We have other agencies out there, and our Blue No Help is they're at least they're tracking it, or somebody is. But who's tracking the retirees? And is it a suicide? And are the suicides that are active duty, are they suicides, or is it, he was cleaning his gun? Oh, he fell asleep in the garage and the car was running. Is it an accidental death, or is it truly a suicide? And I don't want to get caught up into that. The problem is where the thought process is, because you're in that much pain. Let's get your pain under control. Number one, let's get you back to sleep. I talked to an officer the other day. He's like, "Man, I barely get 4 hours a night." I'm like, "Brother, let me introduce you to my psychiatrist. Let me introduce you to Dr. Molly Hall. She will help you. And the number one thing you need to be doing if you're not sleeping is get to sleep. You need to have that 8 hours. And that 8 hours is critical because when you do that, your brain shuts down and dumps all those negative chemicals. And guess what, guys? If you keep pumping sewage into a hole, the sewage backs up, right? And that's exactly what's happening to your mind. You're virtually poisoning yourself. I can tell you as a cop that's been there, I slept very little. If I got 4 hours good sleep a day, I was good. I lived on nicotine because I was smoking like a freight train. I was drinking coffee like a fiend. I lived for the adrenaline rush at work. And when I came home, I would crash and just crack and just fall out for 4 hours. And then by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm wide awake, ready to go. Come on, let's do it again. Toss and turn in the meantime. Did I get restful sleep? I got about 4 hours a day. You need to be sleeping. If you're not sleeping, get somewhere. That's also your first sign. Boys and girls. I had several midnight officers in my class over the last 3 days, and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm good. I'll sleep and I'm dead." Fuck that statement. Erase it from anywhere because that is agency culture. You really, because if that's your mentality, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Guess what? You're gonna be the person putting yourself in the grave. That's exactly what you're doing. Your family deserves you. Stop sacrificing yourself for this job. It's a great job. It's a great job. I loved what I did. When I loved being a cop, and you and I've said this, Nick, we were the best fucking recruiter on the block. Great job. Come on in. This is fun. Look at all the cool stuff. And I had to laugh when you were talking about, ADD moment, the action video, the action recruiting video. You're going to be on SWAT. The fuck you are. You're going to be a canine. Yeah. How many wieners are you going to have to suck on to get that job? It's going to be long but distinguished. Lying to recruits when they come in, and I think that if we have that good conversation, like our friends from Save a Warrior says, we need to have good, honest conversation. Yeah, it's a great job. And eventually you can do specialty details like canine and SWAT, but there's a bottom rung on the ladder for a reason. But come on in. The opportunity is there to do that. If you're working at, Safeway or whatever else, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to be on the team first. However, family first, always. If you work extra overtime, take extra time off. Sacrifice, not sacrifice the family. Don't sacrifice you. And yeah, I know we need money, but contracts are coming along right now to where you can make a decent living being a police officer. Again, it's a great job. Go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to put into the factor too, which is that your family life should be considered some sort of salary. Like you're sacrificing family time, and you're not quantifying it as a monetary value. And for me, my answer to my own question to you is that now where I work, I don't sacrifice family time at all. I don't sacrifice it. Like, case in point, today's Friday. The wife's like, "Hey, listen, we need the whole family needs to go to the eye doctor. And what do you got going on?" I'm like, "I got the eye doctor going on. That's what I got going on."
Yeah, exactly.
3 years ago, I would have been like,
"Fuck you."
If you can schedule something between 1 and 1:15, I can make it happen.
Yeah, because that's all the time I got. Because I got this overtime gig. You know what?
Yeah.
I bought that new
F-150. Yeah, I need 4 hours to prep for work. You know, like it's not even a fragment. It's not even a fragment of my mind now. Like it's just, and you know, I know I've had a couple of folks like they're like, you know, a lot of your podcast is about talking about walking away from the job and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Like I don't know. Listen, I'm not telling you, I don't know your financial situation. I don't know what's going on in your personal life. I'm just telling you that anybody that tells you that the grass is not greener on the other side is a fucking liar. Like, that's what I'm telling you. And the difference is that if you're not finding a good place to jump to, that's on you. Like, you need to do your research just like a recruit needs to do this. But I equate being an officer and being loyal to a police department to being a heroin addict. You know, it's so difficult to put that needle down. It's so difficult to stop snorting up the department bullshit. And, you know, it's so difficult. And you know, Mark and I tell you that because out of experience. Like, I meant what I said when I was on Scott's show, which is man, I owned every T-shirt my department put out. If they put a K9 shirt out, I bought it. If they put a CSI shirt out, I bought it. It didn't matter what it was. I toted it. And I was stupid enough to wear it off duty. You know, so
I'm gonna call you. You weren't stupid enough. You were pride. That was pride. You were proud of your agency. You weren't stupid. And at the time, yes, and you have every right to be proud of it. And it's okay to be prideful of what you do. And support what you do. I'm a fucking cop, man. It's like you said, I was born to do this job, and you did it well. We just didn't have a choice in how we were kind of, you know, zip popped out the door.
I think to wrap up our episode, I think the general message of what we do and why we're doing it is we don't want you, the one that's listening to this, and by the way, put that down. You shouldn't be eating that. You know, our message is that we don't want you to blink your eye and 10 years passes by and you made all those sacrifices for nothing. It's more of like, hey, keep this in the back of your mind when you start thinking about sacrificing your family life and your home life, and they're dangling a carrot in front of you, like you want to get into K9, and they're like, well, help us out at training every week, and it'll help you with your getting into K9. And then a year goes by and you're still doing that. They're fucking using you. Like, wake up. But I did forget about Nick's picks. You got anything for Nick's picks there, Mark?
Actually, I'm sending it to you right now.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that.
See,
we're very technical here.
Me, but I can go ahead and do that. I had this question posed to me the other day. I'm a driving instructor, and this was I had a guy ask me as I'm giving a lecture, and I was talking about different platforms and the history of those platforms, and we were talking about, or the question came up before I get to the car. The question came up. He said, "So, what was your favorite all-time police car?"
I know what
from
yours
your generation.
I know
So
what yours is.
and
And I think
I'm
it's
going to
mine,
ask.
too.
You're going to go first. Then I'm going to go second. So Nick, of your career,
Of my
what was your
career.
favorite? What was your, of all time? So you woke up one day, you were that snot-nosed 12-year-old watching. You were probably watching Chips. as a
Yes,
young
I
boy,
was.
wasn't you? Yeah. Dun, dun,
Isn't
dun,
it
dun,
funny
dun.
that was my favorite show when I was a kid, and the prick that was the commissioner of the CHP ultimately ruined my career.
Wow.
If that's not, yeah, if that's not a big fucking crossover, that's the kicker, man.
That's
I
life
love
kicking
Chip.
you in the nuts, bro.
Yeah. Little did I know that was the man upstairs saying, "Hey, you love this show? Wait till you
show
see
you
what I got
something."
in store with you." Yeah. I think for
So-
me, and I think it's I could be wrong, but I think it's the same for you. I think it's the Crown Vic / John Deere, because you can hear that car from a mile away coming to help you out.
Mhm.
And for all of its faults, it was probably the best workhorse. A lot of room, the trunk space, like you can have 1 million duty bags back there.
Mhm.
Man, the winters were great in that car.
Oh, yes.
Fast. Oh my God, I cannot tell you. So I was cop in Alexandria, so like right next to DC or right by DC. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I was on 395 or 95 going 100 plus miles an hour in that car. And that car was just like a bullet, man. And I love that car, and it could take a beating. I could take
it's a very robust platform. Yes.
Yeah. And my favorite was the hood used to heat up. So it was real fun to search people on that hood.
Yeah, if you had some empathy for your person, you searched them on the trunk. If you was like, fuck you, you put them around the fucking hood because their face was like right in a boilerplate. Like, man, it's hot. I'm sorry, dude. Stand by. We'll be done in a minute.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, since I am a little older, my favorite all-time police car was the 1988 close, the Model T. I actually like the Model A better, but that was on History Channel, Cars That Changed the World. Check that out. That was a good series. But the 1988 to the 1990 Chevy Caprice. But you're a Ford guy, Mark the Cop. And I am a Ford guy, but let me tell you something. I owned one. It was a former Miamisburg police car traded. They swapped them out at Voss Chevrolet, and they sent them to the auction. And it was the one I bought because I'm just such a cop car nerd. Just a fantastic car. Had the 5.7 liter V8. The Corvette engine, but I like the square bodies. I like the square body car, and that's kind of if money's no option, that's going to be a car. The 9C1 Chevrolet Caprice from 88 to 90. And the reason why I liked them is because they were fucking nimble. They turned on a dime. Their trunks were big. I mean, you could like fit a full size mattress back there. That's how big the damn thing was. Easy access in and out. Rear wheel drive. They were absolute blast to drive in the wintertime. Everybody that had them loved them. And shout out to Captain Alexander when he was with the sheriff's department. When they were upgrading cars, he's like, "You're not getting rid of my car." He always parked in the same spot. You would drive by the sheriff's department and you would see his old school 9C1 sitting. I think it was an 87 or something like that. But he said, "No, when I retire, you can get rid of my car. But until then, I'm keeping this car." I always thought that was cool because he also had the old school light bar. I think he had Street Hawk on top, things like 8 inches tall.
Yeah, it's funny how both of our favorites are older cars. And I've driven the new Ford Explorers, I've driven the Tauruses, I've driven the Tahoes, I've driven the Chevy Blazer.
Charger's a great platform, fun platform. Tahoe's fun platform. Tahoe's Waller too much for me.
Bad experience with Chargers. I was involved in a major cruiser accident with a Dodge Charger, and it almost cost me my life. So I have
where it come apart.
Disdain. Yeah, I have a deep disdain for. And we're gonna have to do that in another episode, which is living with injuries.
I get on cars, and we're gonna be here for.
Yeah, but living with injuries because you don't want to go out on light duty. We're gonna have to do that. I'll venture to say we should probably have one of the spinning our gears guys come on.
Sure.
And talk about that, because I'd venture to say that they've done it before too, which is, you're running after somebody and you tweak a knee, or you get into a cruiser accident, your back is fucked up, and you're like, I don't want to go on light duty, because we all know what happens when you go on light duty. Records are dispatched.
Yeah.
And I'd rather
That's why you save your sick time, boys and girls, because that way you don't have to do it.
Yeah, I'd rather cut one of my nuts off than to do one of that. Fuck that. But that about wraps it up for this episode. Couple of housekeeping things. Go on to rollcallroom.com. Go check out our content on there. We have our YouTube channel. All of our episodes are now video as well. So you can watch these two ugly fucks. And you can reach out to me at nick@rollcallroom.com. You can reach out to this guy over here, Marc, M-A-R-C, because he's unique, at rollcallroom.com. Don't do Mark, M-A-R-K, because that one goes into our porn
archive
mailbox, and you will get some weird shit. Now a bunch of these weird fucks are just going to do it to do it.
They'll do that to see if it works. We're kidding. We're kidding.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I don't do that no more.
Hey,
Mark, what do you got for us?
Well, don't we have Patreon?
We do. We have Patreon too. So if you go on rollcallroom.com, the homepage has our Patreon on there. Helps keep the lights on, helps with the hosting, making the videos and stuff like that. Definitely helps us out. Yeah. So please join our Patreon. We're going to be revamping what our Patreon is, so you'll get explicit content.
And taking a pair of heels at the end of a bowling alley, walking back and forth.
1 free month of my OnlyFans. So, yeah. What else you got for us, buddy?
We got swag.
Swag.
Yes. We got a shit ton of stickers,
shirts, stickers. Yes. The whole shebang we got.
Right. Proudly display that. Put that on your ticket. What would you call your ticket book? Ticket book, ticket 10, ticket something.
Ticket book.
Where you get your tickets in. Put it on there, and then make sure.
What I ate my lunch on.
Is that right? Flipped it sideways.
Flipped it sideways, baby.
Well, what I'm going to end this up on is the 4 F's. Again, it's balance. Everybody, balance your life. It's a job, and if I could always tell my younger self, like what Nick said earlier, what would be the best advice would be, don't sacrifice the family, don't sacrifice yourself for a career that is a great career and it's a lot of fun, but you got to have balance in everything, and it's finding that balance. And remember, family, friends, faith, favorite activities. Those are the things we need to concentrate on. The SWAT team is fun, and it's great to go do that stuff and to make those stories. But remember, public service exposes you to things that most humans aren't supposed to be exposed to. Most average people have 1, maybe 2 major traumas, and being a public servant, you get about 800 served up to you in a career. Yeah. And that's where we're talking about having those careers shortened so you don't have those major traumas, and take care of them. If you don't have a therapist, now's a good time to reach out, start getting on their books and get that intake done. Do that half a year check-in. Hey, call up our good friends at Martin Counseling, or that's just one of many. There's several around. First question should be, do you deal first responders?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Hey, how about a 15-second or 15-minute freebie? Can we just sit down and talk and see how we click? That's step 2. And then if you find that you click, okay, I want to do your intake. I don't have any problems right now. When the shitstorm hits, because I tell you what, it was overnight for me. It was just like, hey, I don't need reading glasses the next night. I'm like, I can't read this fucking driver's license. It happens all of a sudden. It's that one time. I've taken dead body calls. It was just like, oh, it's a Tuesday. Oh, we got Edna died over here. Okay, well, sorry. It was no big deal. But then one day, I can't fucking sleep because, this is really bothering me now. That's when you know you got a problem. And that's the time to start taking care of it. And remember, be present for your family. Those are the people to be present for. Not I'm going to work overtime because, oh, well, I just bought this new whatever, this new Jeep, blah, 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 with the lift kit and this, that, and the other. And yeah, I really can't afford it, but I'm going to pick up all these overtime shifts, or I'm going to get on the special detail and never be home and present for my family. You don't need the car, bro. You know, I've had the big cars. And speaking of cars, I love Crown Vics and I bought mine. So that's all. And then we're done with that. But take care of yourselves.
All right, folks, take it easy, and we'll see you on the next one. Man, I zipped up my balls by accident before this episode.